It's time to live life through the eyes of fit people so that you too can live a fit life yourself. This is Fit Because. I'm one of your hosts, Jennifer Zerling, but you can call me Jay-Z. I'm a fitness and age management expert, author, speaker, as well as an international health advocate.
And I'm your other host, George Veeder. I'm an entrepreneur, cattle rancher, fitness enthusiast, and a 6-time rodeo champion who has a huge amount of knowledge to share with you in the area of self-improvement.
Oh, he does. Get ready to learn how to bridge the gap between knowing what to do and doing what it takes to become physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and financially fit.
You ready, Jay-Z?
Oh, I'm ready, George.
Let's dive in.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jay-Z, one of your hosts, and I got George Veeder to my right, and we are talking about happiness. I'm so happy, yeah. And this is going to be such a fun podcast because not only do I have my superstar with me, but we have an amazing guest joining us today. Her name is Dr. Kristen Fuller, and she is a columnist for Psychology Today. She writes a column on happiness is a state of mind. This is going to be epic. She is also the organizer of medical and psychological columns for a place called Century for Discovery, and she's going to discuss that more in detail later on in the podcast. So let's kind of dive in. First of all, welcome to our show. We are so excited to have you.
Excited to be here.
Yeah, so you're right down the street in Laguna, which is super exciting. There's so much to talk about with happiness because it's such a almost like a vague topic that is not tangible, but our goal for this podcast is to make it tangible for our listeners. So why don't you dive into your expertise and how you bring closer to that feeling of being happy?
So happiness is something that's actually been studied for years and years, and it's finally becoming this hot topic because I think, especially in the United States, there's so much going on in terms of culture and politics, and we're always on the verge of some, battle ties, whether it's gender or something we're always fighting. And I think people get so bogged down in the daily stressors, and it's really taking a toll on our mental health. And so the opposite side is happiness. And there's a huge debate saying, well, is it ingrained? Are we born naturally happy? Or can we do something to make a decision in our life to be happy? And I really think it's a tug of war of both. I think that some people they do have these genes that make them happy-go-lucky people. And there are some people that are maybe a little bit more inclined for mental health disorders such as depression and anxiety. However, I do strongly believe, and there is so much data out there that supports that we do make a decision every single day to increase our happiness levels.
Oh, that's awesome. And Abraham Lincoln said, most people are about as happy as they make up their mind to be. So I know there's choice involved, and that kind of frames our discussion today, which is exciting because we have some control over how happy we are going forward in our lives, and there are tools to help us be more so. So that's very exciting to bat this around.
Yeah,
I think it's one of our commonalities, right? Is members of this human family that all of us want to be happy.
Why not?
Regardless of our station in life now, there's a place that we would like to get to where we're happier. And so this is going to be wonderful.
Yeah.
I agree. And I think that's the one thing that all humans have in common, regardless of any type of status around the world, is people just want to be happy.
Yeah.
And happiness does not have to be tied to, finances or what type of car you drive or all of that substance. As you can see, we lost two very well-known people that touched a lot of lives last week from suicide, and because they had it all, quote unquote, clearly they were really battling with some internal demons. So were they really happy?
Yeah.
So we don't have to be celebrities and have great jobs and have all these things. Happiness does come from within, and it's our innate decision to really strive to be happier.
Let's
people.
actually touch upon that because that's a very huge topic right now with suicide and, Kate Spade and Anthony Bourdain, right? That's his, yeah. Can we talk about what that world might have looked like for those individuals? Because just when people think they have it all financially and with the big life, really there's these deep stories that no one knows about, but we just hear the outcomes, and it really impacts people's psychology moving forward. So not only talk about that, but also talk about how people can cope with stories like this.
Agree. I think, a lot of people were really shocked. And I personally, I'm never really shocked when I hear about these things, because you never know what's going on in people's lives. And I think, well-known people like Kate Spade and Anthony Bourdain, they're in the spotlight all the time. They're constantly, being surrounded by people. They're constantly being in the tabloids. They're constantly, even if they have supporters, for every supporter you also have somebody probably bashing you. And so, add with all this pressure and all of this sort of social stress they have tough jobs. Even if it may, they get to travel the world and get to display their businesses in fashion and food, it's still exhausting, being on a plane, constantly traveling, having to, have that pressure to work. In addition to, they each suffered from a mental illness, and, they both were receiving help, I know, at some point in their life. So, mental illness is a huge component of that. And so even if they were receiving help, maybe it wasn't the right help or enough help, or, and I think suicide isn't about giving up on life. It's about ending your suffering, which I think a lot of people kind of struggle to understand. Especially with Kate Spade having a daughter. I've talked to a lot of people, and they said, well, why would somebody ever want to take their life when they have a daughter that's so selfish? And my reaction was, when people are in that deep of agony, they just want to end their pain. It's not, about selfishness or thinking about those things at all. And so I think when, for the rest of the world who is maybe struggling with something similar, you have to talk to people, and you have to talk to people that you trust. I think there's so much stigma, and we're so scared to talk to people because we don't want people to think that, we're this weak person, and good people and people that want to help you will never think that. So you have to talk to people. You have to seek help. You have to realize that we only see a sliver of these people's lives, especially social media. Also, that's another, huge, I guess, foot pedal for driving all of this.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. Do you have a definition for what happiness is? We all know we want it. Sometimes we have a hard time putting our hands around exactly what it is. When people ask you that question, or if you get asked that question, how do you define happiness?
I think happiness encompasses when you finish your day and you may have had a hard day, but you know that you've done everything you possibly could to make it your best day. Even if, you lost your job or something, bad happened to your family, you know that you didn't intentionally hurt somebody. You didn't do anything that intentionally could cause a negative effect. Like, you did your best, because keep on striving to do your best, you're going to be happy.
So, I have a family of mental health therapists. My sister's a mental health therapist. My mother's a guidance counselor. So I've been around this my whole life. My question to you, as someone in that field and seeing what's going on in the world with people taking their lives and wanting to get rid of the pain, if somebody's currently in therapy, but they're still feeling these very negative feelings about life, what do you suggest that they do to navigate either in a different direction, or how to actually, take on that feeling of, I deserve to be happy, and change my mindset?
Yeah.
I think people are going to feel those feelings, and just it's more like recognizing that these feelings are real, and acknowledging that you have to allow yourself to feel these feelings, and it's okay, if that makes sense. Because I think when so many people are in therapy and they're trying their very best and they're going to these amazing therapists, but they still feel these feelings, and maybe they haven't accepted, that's okay. But it's more about acceptance of those feelings, if that makes sense. Because I think when you fight against those feelings, that's when you have those internal battles. And that's something that I think most therapists will work with clients on. Like, you're going to have these feelings. You just have to sort of sit with them and let them pass and feel them. And if you think they are triggering, then you need to go to somebody else's house, either a friend's house or or be around somebody physically if you don't think you can handle these feelings that you're encountering at the moment.
Yeah, that's awesome. Also, in some of your material that I reviewed, I know that you're big about happiness being in the present. It's not something on a deferred plan, right, that we're going to have someday, or it's not something that we remember feeling. It's got to be in the present. Can you speak to that?
Agreed. I think, we're always striving to do something either next month or next year. We always set our goals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, by the time we hit 30, we have to have all of these things. And by the time we hit 40, we have all of these lists. And I'm guilty of that. I always have my, 3 trips I want to take in the next 3 years, all of these goals that we set. And if we don't meet these goals, that's where we have feelings of failure. And so I really think that you have a choice every day to do as much as you can. So live in that day, put your cell phones down when you're talking to your friends, engage with people face to face. And same thing about our past. I really do think that our past mold us, but our past don't define us. And we're going to make mistakes in our past, and that's okay. And it's really about just, engaging. Today is Friday. What are you going to do Friday that is going to make you happy? Instead of thinking about all of our to-do lists tomorrow.
No, I think so. Yeah.
And what if it's Monday? How do we get people to say, hey, it's Monday? Because it's like, that's like so many days away. So like, what do you suggest for people to like keep it present no matter what day of the week and what the responsibilities are of that day?
I just think you never know what is going to happen to your loved ones or to you. So, the only thing you're guaranteed is today. So you only have today to go out and enjoy what you want to do, to call your friends and tell them you love them, call your husband, call your mom. You only have today to do those things. And I think it's such like a, you see these quotes all the time, but it's true. You never know what's going to happen tomorrow. And so I think people just need to sort of get in that mindset that the only thing you have right now is today.
That's why they call it the present, right?
It's a present.
I think I recently had my birthday, but I had a friend write me something in my birthday card.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. She said, you're the only person who I know that lives life with full intention. And meaning that, I am lucky that I have a fantastic job and I do work really hard, but I also strive on having a huge life outside of my profession, which I really think dictates my happiness. I'm not slaving away constantly for somebody. And I chose that, I actively chose, to take a pay cut and to go into more of an editorial role instead of practicing full time because it made me happy. And so I think when, people are stressed out with work or stressed out with family, they need to do something that makes them happy, regardless if others maybe won't support it, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I think also in reading your material, one of the things you emphasize is that people have to make themselves happy, and you can't look to other people to make you happy. And can you touch on that?
Exactly. Nobody is going to make you happy. You may have this blissful relationship for your first few months and you're in the honeymoon phase and, you think if this person is dictating your happiness, that's really crossing the boundary of toxicity. Because when somebody's dictating your feelings, that's dangerous. You're really kind of bordering on that control. Are they dictating your life kind of thing? So nobody should dictate your happiness, your sadness, really any of your feelings, because then you're getting into something that isn't very healthy. So it's really, you should be able to feel fulfilled without anybody really in your life. However, there's also people that can increase your happiness, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, you have to start with the base, and then you can have these amazing people that can come in and sort of increase your fulfillment. And that's what great friends and relationships and parents and kids
That's
are for.
really well said. And it actually triggers in my brain. It was I think it was 4 or 5 years ago. There's a guy, John, really muscular guy at Gold's Gym in Venice. And he comes up to me while I'm working out and he says, "How's your workout going?" And I'm like, "Man, it is so boring today." And he says to me, "The problem isn't the workout. The problem is you. You're boring. You're living in your brain. So if you're a boring person, then you're going to be bored." I was like, dang, he's right. I have to not be so boring. So I just think it's so great that you brought that up. So let's talk about that, because honestly, it sounds like you're saying we should start here with our happiness, and on a barometer of a happiness meter, like we need to only go up. And if we go down, like what do we do about those relationships that bring us down? Like what could people actively do?
I mean, the easiest, shortest answer is cut them.
Ta-ta!
Easier.
I just got a permission slip.
I will cut you.
See ya.
It goes so much deeper than that, because the person that is in the toxic relationship is usually the last one to recognize it. And so they have all of their friends and family, telling them this person is weighing you down, and then the person is like, "Oh no, they're great." And they sadly don't realize it until either something absolutely terrible happens, or when they actually get out of the relationship and realize, "Oh my gosh, they were totally right." And so I think my advice for people that are in toxic relationships, if your friends and family are telling you this, your friends and family are not purposely hurting you. They're good people, or they should be good people if they're in your life. They're telling you this because they're concerned. And I really think that whenever we have our support system come to us with a concern, our first reaction is to be defensive. But we really need to allow them to talk to us, and we need to hear them.
That's awesome. Can you talk a little bit about gratitude as a key component to any type of happiness?
Yeah, I think this is also becoming a hot topic with all these gratitude journals, and really sort of recognizing gratitude in a sense of how it does define our happiness. And there actually is studies saying, and also a book that I'm currently reading by the Dalai Lama called The Book of Joy. And he says that if you actively express gratitude every day, whether verbally or cognitively, or if you write it down, it does increase your happiness over long term. And gratitude can be something so simple, like I am thankful that I have a job. I am thankful that I'm healthy. I am thankful that I'm living in a place where there's currently not war going on. And I don't like to compare myself to others, but there's always going to be people worse off than us, no matter what. And there's always going to be people better off than us, no matter what. And so I think just gratitude really comes into play in that aspect.
There's
too.
actually some neurological studies on that, right? Don't they assess the brain waves of people who keep a gratitude log, where they're less erratic and it's more steady pathways?
Yes,
yeah.
There's research and so many studies out there. And I mean, me personally, I'm not a big journaler. I like to write more than share my feelings on paper, but I do cognitively check myself every day and be like, what am I grateful for? Because it is hard to do. We get so busy and we don't sit down and actually reflect on what we have. And, we need to, really reflect on being thankful for what we do have.
Friends, she's a biologist. She works in oncology with cancer patients, and it eats her up to see some of these patients not make it. She decided to come up with a not-for-profit organization, which isn't really public yet. She doesn't mind sharing it, but it's called the Gratitude Gram, where it's a handwritten thing that you write if you have a good experience in a restaurant or with a friend. I'm grateful for the service you provided me. And then she gives another gratitude gram for that person as a pay forward so that they share it with someone else. So I just think that like it'd be nice to see more of that.
There's so much power in that. I think also it's automatically reciprocal. If you express gratitude to me, I automatically feel grateful for you. And so it's it is just a very powerful thing to get cognitively in the habit of expressing. It changes our state, elevates us, and everybody around us. It's wonderful.
Same thing with kindness. If you're automatically kind to somebody, that person's going to be kind back to you. You know, and I think this past year I've gotten more in the habit of sending handwritten cards, thank you cards and birthday cards.
Yeah.
Because those people love those. And it's so easy to send an email or a quick text. It's easy. It's something that, you know, it takes 2 seconds. So I think when you actually put effort into writing stuff and sharing your thoughts to other people, it's enormous. Like the amount of like, oh, that was so sweet of you. Thank you so much. That made my day.
Yep.
It takes 10 minutes.
I think that's awesome.
Such a small thing.
You know, I deal with clients in my practice, and I have about 750 clients, and I meet with them on a systematic basis. And I made a practice years ago at the conclusion of our business meetings that I always express gratitude to them. I say, I just want you to know that I'm grateful that I get to work with you and for your example and where you're at in your life. And take time to pat yourself on the back and know that I'm grateful for this association. And it's a simple thing to do, but it just lights them up. You know, you'll see people that were real serious during the meeting and just having that quick little end of the conversation just changes their state, you know.
Because they look up to you and you validated them.
Well, and people don't all the time express that to them. You know, how many times in a normal day do people say, hey, I really appreciate what you're doing? You know,
feels good.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about this Center for Discovery. I know that that's a huge area of opportunity for you, and we'd love to learn more about it.
I was just going to mention them because for like speaking about gratitude, they're always like, we really appreciate you. Thank you so much, Dr. Fuller. They're just constantly. And I'm like, oh, well, thank you so much. I appreciate you too. So they are a nationwide eating disorder treatment facility, and they also treat mental health disorders and substance abuse. But their real niche is eating disorders. So anything from binge eating disorder to bulimia nervosa, to anorexia nervosa, to even orthorexia. They see patients on all different levels of care from residential to outpatient. And they're good people, and they're smart, and they're really just state of the art. You know, they have physicians, and they have all different levels of mental health counselors, and they really focus on trauma. So I'm just very appreciative for this opportunity to work with them. It's been about 1.5 years now, and every day I'm like, wow, how did I land this job? Because they're just good people, and I really believe in the work that we all do together. So,
well, Kristen, honestly, this has just been a delight to get to know you on this show, and I feel happier as a result of our time here. So that's the proof in the pudding, right? And I'm grateful for what you broadcast to the world and the energy that you put into helping people be happier. And I think that's just a wonderful life mission to embark on, and we're very supportive of you. Grateful we got this chance to chat today.
Yeah, where could people find you if they want to look for you and learn more about your work?
Psychology Today, that's sort of one of my biggest channels. And then I'm all over Center for Discovery. So if you go on their website, I also am a huge outdoors person. So I run an outdoor women's hiking blog, and I also lead a women's outdoor hiking community. So I'm out there. I'm on social media. So one golden state of mind is my Instagram, if that
I
matters.
love that.
That's awesome.
Well, very cool. Thank you so much for coming, Kristen. And is there any last words of wisdom you want to share, or?
I do. So I've done a lot of work internationally, and I did want to mention what's sort of going on at our borders right now. It's going on all over the world, and something that I've been thinking a lot about happiness is I was actually at a refugee camp on the border of Mexico, and the caravan came through, and I was talking to these little kids, and I kept telling myself, for kids that are under some of the hardest circumstances, they had, glowing smiles. And it just so goes to say children are like the epitome of happiness. When children are going through the toughest situations, whether, when I was working in clinics in Africa or India or even in Mexico, I always want to like kind of be like an innocent child, because regardless of what they're going through, they really do mean happiness. And so I think sort of go out and volunteer and really get to know these people that are going through dire situations, because even though their lives may be awful, they still have this huge beam of happiness, which I think is huge.
That's absolutely awesome. Yeah. Well, I think kids are in the present, aren't they? They're not worried about where they're going to be 10 years from now or next year. They're just absorbed in what's right in front of them, right? And they allow themselves to be happy about that, where we're like shooting past it as we get to be adults so much, right?
Agreed. So even if in these tragedies, like look at these kids, and I think our role models are our kids, because they live in the present. They're happy that the simple things in life are the best things in life.
Yeah, whatever they can put in their mouth.
Feed me, I'll be happy. Well, Dr. Kristen Fuller, thank you so much again for joining us for this episode. Super excited to launch this. And for those of you listening, stay tuned for episode 21. This is going to be overcoming childhood trauma, moving to a positive space. And we're bringing to you live a Real Housewife of Dallas. So wait until we have this one. This is going to be great.
Awesome. Thank you again, Kristen. You're awesome.
Thank you so much.
Take care. And if you have any last comments or things that you want to give us feedback on, get to us, info@fitbecause.com. And I want to thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you rate us 5 stars, of course. Let's have a great day.
Don't worry, be happy.
This has been Fit Because, hosted by Jennifer Zerling
and George Veeder. Be sure to follow us on social media at Fit Because Show on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
And for past episodes, be sure to visit our website at fitbecause.com.
Also, please subscribe to our show on iTunes and be sure to rate and comment. You may always request topics for our subsequent episodes.
And if you love this episode, please share it with someone you love so that we can continue spreading our mission to help people be fit.
Until next time, take care of yourself and know that your future is
Fit Because.